I came to the realization that it actually wouldn't be a bad thing to just look outside of that. And, kind of led me to the meeting with Feaster after the season when he met with we didn't make the playoffs, and he met with all the guys with no trade clauses, no movements, all that kind of stuff. And Daryl had put a bunch of guys on the team with those clauses. And Feaster's, after he shook me down for about 2.5 hours on all my thoughts on the whole organization, from coaches, players, trainers, you name it, he asked it. So after I was done answering all the questions, I just looked at him and said, okay, Jay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with this team to improve it? So we can actually making the playoffs again and have some success. And that's when he told me what he was going to try to do. And it was try to move a couple players with no trade clauses. And I was like, well, what if you can't do that? And he's like, well, then we're kind of stuck. And that was my realization that, and at the end of that conversation, I just said to Jay, if there's a situation where, potentially I can go to a team that is going to win and have that ability, I said, I would be open to that. I did not demand a trade or anything like that. Just saying, I kind of see where things are going here.
He was looking for flexibility,
and
right?
I'm not a huge fan of it. So the disappointing thing was I had a no movement clause. And so we ended up back at the lake, and he didn't phone me till it was a couple days before the draft. And he phoned me at the lake and said, well, we'd like to trade you to Buffalo. And so what happened was I phoned my agent right away, and my agent was mad because when you have a no trade or no movement,
they should be included.
Usually exactly. They talk to the player, talk to the agent. Where are some of the places where you'd like to go, and let's work through this together.
A dialogue of some
sort.
There
was none of that.
Yeah.
So it actually started a really interesting kind of chain of events because my agent at the time, he's like, no, just don't do anything. Leave it with me. So then he phoned, I think Darren Dreger at TSN, and he leaked the story. So he leaked it that Calgary wanted to trade me to Buffalo. And I didn't realize what he was doing at the time, but really he was opening the floodgates because he knew there were other teams interested.
That would be interesting.
But other teams didn't know
there was
in play. So then Buffalo phoned me, and they were mad because they're like, well, why aren't you coming here? Why aren't you waving? And I was like, well, I'm not saying no. I'm just trying to explore options.
Yeah, really, I've got this in my contract. This is my right.
Exactly. I gave up substantial amount of money to secure the no movement. I'm going to use it to my ability. And Jay has kind of put me in a bad spot here. Just talking. And then that started, talking to Rhett and Jordan Leopold and players that had been in around Buffalo, the Pagulas flying up with Lindy and chatting with them and all that. So, eventually I decided to wave and go there anyway to start a new adventure. And I'm actually really glad I did because not just that I could kind of have a sense of what was going on here in Calgary, but I think there was a little bit of getting stale here in Calgary too. And I realized that when I got to Buffalo is that, you're in you're new country, even though it's just you're just
a different place,
but it's new country, new conference, which was
travel
massive. That was a massive difference. I didn't know a lot of the players. You only played against them once, maybe twice. And I didn't know a lot of them. And I did a lot of studying tendencies and things like that. So that was I had to go back to school. New coach, and played with a very different kind of, I would say, a lot less structure. Just come back, flood the D zone, get the puck back as fast as you can, and 4 guys up the other way, and that's it. Just back and forth, back and forth. Lindy Ruff.
Gotcha.
And so I struggled with that. I did not like that at all. But by going there and doing all this and going through a trade, there was some funny stuff, buying a house in Buffalo. You have to have a US based bank account to actually buy a house in the state of New York at the time. I was like, well, I have US currency here, but no, they're like, you have to open up an account in the US. Okay, well, that can't be that hard. Well, because of the Patriot Act and stuff like that, I had to chop down a small forest in paperwork, like just to open up an account. And I didn't realize all that, like the visas and stuff, that was pretty easy. But there was lots of issues that you're starting to realize cross-border that come up. And we're lucky. This is in the off season when I actually had time to deal with it. And Christina and I can talk about it and all that kind of stuff. But so we quickly fly to Buffalo. We've got a young one, and Shane is on the, like, he's coming, like he's due like in a month, just a little less than a month. So we only had a certain amount of time to fly. So we fly to Buffalo, look at houses quickly, and we can't find one that we like, but we kind of find this area that one, and more near downtown by Chapin Parkway there by the Hutches, right? The restaurant. So we get home and we start getting our realtor to send us pictures and video of these houses as she goes around that
Maureen. Flavor?
No. Yeah, this was Sarah Robitaille.
Anyway.
So we find a house that we like, and it's this 100-year-old home, beautiful old brick home, and that. And what happens is Christina's water breaks, and we're at the lake, and so I drive her into Prince Albert. We're at the Vic hospital in PA, and I get a phone call, and it's Sarah Robitaille, the realtor from Buffalo. There's stuff going on with this house. You guys need to put an offer in today or else it's gone. And we're like, well, we're a little busy. Christina's in contractions here. Yeah. Like, she's like, no, like you have to do this. And are you serious? Like, so the offer then is faxed to our friends, the Barodas in Prince Albert. They drive it over to the hospital, and in between contractions, we're signing an offer to buy a house in Buffalo we have not physically been in, or like we've only seen a few pictures of it. Like, that's the kind of stuff that went on. And like the nurses in Prince Albert, they're like, we've seen a lot of stuff.
This is a weird
but
one.
we have not seen this. Yeah. We've not seen this one before.
Babe,
like,
if you could just sign, just initials, can you just get your